G Money, what is happening? Welcome back, everyone, to episode 4 of the Link Together Health podcast. Obviously, we are with Georgia here. What's news?
Not too much. I'm just packing my bags to work in Kununurra next week in the Kimberleys. So not too much, just getting that sorted. Last work trip of the year. What about you?
Last work trip. How many work trips have you done this year?
A lot. I've done a couple of trips to Africa, Singapore, and then nearly to every state except for Northern Territory, Tassie, and WA, but WA is next week now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's coming to the last one, which is a little bit sad because I love work trips and getting to meet new people everywhere, but it means that we're close to Christmas and close to the holidays, so I like that part of it.
Yes, and you caught up with my mum the other day and she actually invited you to our family Christmas, which is fantastic.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got so many plans for Christmas now. So many invites, mainly from your mum. But she's the sweetest woman. I have the best time with her.
Yeah, she's cool. Shout out to mum out there. See you soon, actually, mum. See you in a few weeks. How exciting.
Yeah, you get to see Anakin too.
I know. I miss him. I miss the little fella. It's been so long.
He's doing well. I saw him too.
Yeah, he apparently he's been a little bit more. So when I had him, he used to graze, obviously. So food was always full. He just ate whenever he wanted to. And now that mum's looking after him, mum just feeds him when she feeds Maya, the golden retriever. And so now Anakin's getting real like aggro around dinner time because he's hungry all the way throughout the day and then doesn't want to share any potential food once he does get fed. So there's a bit of anger there at the moment, but that's okay. Hey, look.
I feel like I can relate to that around dinner time.
Yeah, I think we all can, to be completely honest.
Yeah. He's just growing up, getting cranky.
He is. He's getting old, I suppose, now. Is he like 5? Crazy.
Yeah, pretty old. How have you been?
Going well. As you can see, beautiful day in Goldie today. We have had a few days of rain, though, so it is about time that the sun came back out and spent the morning, got a coffee by the pool, doing some work, bit of a workout, and gearing up for race season. First race of the season coming up in Victoria this weekend, which is exciting.
That's very exciting. Are you feeling confident?
Yeah, I definitely feel this is like the strongest and fittest and probably fastest that I've been for maybe ever, potentially. Yeah, it's one of those things where like I've done all the work in the lead up to it. So now it's just about executing, I suppose, and trying to run the best. Obviously, there's always dreams of trying to win and podium and whatnot, but I think the mindset should be trying to run the best that you possibly can each day rather than that end process trying to be a winner. Because, yeah, and that's definitely shifted over the years where previous years I've gone out trying to win everything. But now it's more about just running the best I possibly can. And, hey, look, maybe that's an age thing. Maybe that's an experience thing, or maybe that's me preaching that to all the athletes that I've worked with over the last few years. So now that I've actually started to listen to those words as well, who knows?
Let's say it's experience. Experience sounds better than age, and it sounds transferable to other people.
Well, that's it. And as you know, Georgia, I'm only 22 as well. So
yeah. If you're 22, how old does that make me? Oh gosh, I'm still
14.
Yeah. Well, how do you handle coming into race season? So how long is your off season as a sprinter?
So traditional sprinters probably have probably 4 to 6 months of that off-season break. Obviously, I wouldn't call myself a traditional sprinter or runner because I do so many other things as well. But for the elite guys, it's very typical to normal sporting seasons like footy and whatnot, where there's probably a 6-month break there where they're not competing, and then the season generally lasts for that kind of 6-month period. And being athletics, it's a hard one because there's different times of the year within that season that you have to be performing at your best, which then changes your preparation for those kind of things. Whereas I suppose AFL or netball, where it's a long season to build towards finals, it's a little bit more easier to kind of prepare for those kind of things. But yeah, in terms of this preparation, I've had, what am I, 3 months in the Gold Coast now, where I've trained almost as a traditional sprinter with some other hybrid stuff here and there. But yeah, it's been a nice little change rather than doing footy all the way up until the end of September. Other little competitions and races and whatnot. It's been nice just to focus purely on trying to get faster on the track, which is cool.
There's a couple of things that you have coming up that I find very fascinating. So, number one is your racing. Number two is your high rocks. Compared to, so from, I suppose, in the next couple of weeks where you've got these things coming up, compared to your off season where you're still training all the time, but mentally for you, what changes?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably, I think mentally I'm a little bit different to most, where like I would be ready to go at any time. I think just because I've always been dabbling in so many different things at once, whether that's like, so 4 years ago when I was stepping on stage as a bodybuilder, I competed sprinting the week after. Like I've always had these lots of different things going on. So my mindset doesn't necessarily change between different events or time of year or anything. But in terms of other athletes, I think that's one where like everyone goes through different stages of, post season, you go through this little stage where you stop training as much and you're a little bit flatter, or, that has a bit of a negative effect on that mindset. You can relax a little bit, but that might not necessarily work for everyone. And then in the lead up to different events, everyone's just so different in how they prepare for that kind of thing. A lot of people think about it a lot. Other people don't want to think about it a lot. And that's why working as a coach with so many different athletes, it's really cool to work with such a diverse range of athletes because everyone's so different. And obviously some people are similar to others, but to be able to manage different mindsets in the lead up to different things, it's pretty cool. Like it's almost like you're juggling so many different characters and attitudes and the way that people want to prepare. And that's where it comes down to the art of coaching, I suppose, where, yeah, you need someone who knows a lot of different ways to go about things. Otherwise, the one method doesn't always suit all.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I think what I find fascinating is the ability for people just to, when it comes up to whether it's their race or particularly with long distance runners as well, I find this really intriguing, the way that you're just mentally able to just like switch on. But it sounds like, and I think from knowing you, you're pretty good at that all the time. And I actually would definitely say, out of all the people that I know, you're a very high performer. Whether it's work, whether it's coaching people, whether it's your races and your fitness adventures, because you never know what you've booked yourself into. But do you think, I find that the mindset and the mentality of high performers really fascinating. Do you think that that's something that is exclusive just to like high performance athletes or CEOs, or with the people that you've coached and encountered, do you think that that's something that is applicable to all people? They just have to do a bit of work, or is it just, yeah? What does that look like across the, I suppose, variety of people you work?
I think there's some people are absolutely born with that kind of mindset, or their environment around them from a young age allows for that mindset to be crafted and molded into that high performing way. But I absolutely believe anyone is capable of creating a high performance mindset, whether that's from a sporting, relationships, work, business, any kind of aspect. It just takes time and more dedication for some, because it's not everyone is wired, and we talk about spectrums of things. I think the high performance mindset's just a spectrum, and we're all along it somewhere in one way or another. And that's why like what you do in your work is so important, because you're working towards changing and adapting and educating people to adopt a new mindset. It's the exact same way with high performing, and we've talked about this, and it's something that we want to work together on, being able to help people create and craft and mold their high performance mindset to a certain way, from whether that's going from absolutely nothing to achieving whatever they want to. And I think it can definitely be taught. It just needs more hands-on work for some people, because there are absolutely some, and we've all grown up with them, who are just naturally wired a certain way, and they will always be like that. Like, what did my year 12 award, funny awards at the end of like year 12, I received the overachiever, right? So like, and it's funny, I was
That
I
doesn't
was a little
surprise
bit
me at all.
salty about this. Well, you know, like those awards were like, who's most likely to be famous, most likely to get locked up, blah blah blah. I got overachiever. And I remember thinking back then, I was just like, oh, that's pretty rough. Like, these people just think I, you know, get after things a little bit differently. But now I realize, when I'm a little bit older now, can take a step back and appreciate the fact that they identified that, yes, I fucking try hard at everything and I'm always fucking on. Like, there's very rare amount of times where I'm not in a mindset where, yeah, whether it's tomorrow, the next day, I could rock up and do a marathon or do something absolutely stupid. I could work on the laptop for 15 hours if I had to. Like, and then there's others who, and I've got a couple of great mates who are much better athletes and much more successful than what I am, but their high performance mindset is just like nothing. And it's just, they've just been successful in a certain way, but they're all wired so differently.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I think your overachiever award is probably something that you would wear as a badge of honor now. But do you think in that, so if a high performance mindset can be cultivated by anyone, what do you think? And this is a really hard question because I've been struggling to answer this myself. But what do you think is the first step from someone who really struggles with their mindset, the first step to cultivating more of a high performance mindset, whether it's work, sport, or life?
Yeah, that is a great question, G, because like, I think it comes down to, number one, I would say being grateful for the things within your life and accepting the fact that you're not a high achiever right now is absolutely fine. So bringing and drawing yourself back into the present moment is absolutely fine. And then what you need to do, I think, is to slowly work towards having a goal in mind that you can actually take steps towards. It doesn't have to be a clear goal, but without any direction, it's so hard to pursue something. And that's why, like, one of the first activities that I like to do with anyone that I work with is called the 1, 3, 6, and 12. And that's in 1 month's time, I want to, in 3 months, I want to, in 6 months, I want to, in 12 months, I want to. And I think that's really good in aligning people's values and where they can see themselves in that kind of time frame. And that then gives us something to step towards, crawl towards, rather than just going in absolutely blind. But I definitely think, being grateful and being drawn back into the present for who you are and what you are doing right now, and then having little steps towards a particular goal is the first thing that kind of needs to be done, because otherwise we're just floating without any pure direction, and it can be challenging, much more challenging that way.
Yeah, I think with the goals as well, for me, what it feels like is creating a vision for yourself and whoever that best version is of yourself. What are they doing? Where are they? How hard are they working? And it makes a lot of sense that you can't start to achieve or work towards that without having a really clear vision for yourself. But it starts by coming back into the present moment. Where do you think, and something that I struggle with still sometimes, more regularly than not now, I'm able to pick myself up on it, but is something that I see in a lot of people, whether it's young people, whether it's people my age, whether it's people older, even people from the town that I grew up in. Every time I go back and chat to a certain group of people, there's a lot of everything's other people's fault, and it's other people's fault as to why they are where they are, and that's the mindset and that's the mentality. And I think that when you're in that, can be really hard to get out of. because we're looking for evidence to prove that that's true. Like our brain's just naturally looking for evidence that it's everyone else's fault. Have you encountered clients or people, or even people that you compete against, that you can see that mindset in? And I suppose, how long does someone's just like physical abilities get them, or how far does that get them without addressing their mindset, if that makes sense?
Like, yeah, and it goes for anything, right? Like, I think, like, we would generally call that just like playing victim, right? Like, the where you are right now in your life, if you're putting it on, like, it's not my fault that I'm here, it's someone else's. You are playing the victim. And we've all done that. I've done that in relationships. I've done that in workplaces. I've done that on the sporting field. We've absolutely all done that. But it's as soon as someone says, and you remind yourself that, like, it is all up to you. Like, no one else will help you get to where you want to, really, unless you help yourself first. And that, you just need to repeat those kind of things to yourself regularly, because if not, and I still work with athletes who they're the first ones to critique training plans or nutrition plans or their goals, and they're quick to blame the reason why they aren't being successful, but they're not doing it. They might not be doing it to the proper amount or the high intensity that we expect it, and they're putting the blame on external things rather than seeing themselves that it's up to them to complete these things, to do everything right, to be able to work towards those goals. It'd be like if I set myself a training program for a 10K run and I'm not doing half the sessions, and I'm like, well, why aren't I getting any better? What is going on? I'm blaming my coach. I've set this training program. What is actually happening? Until I actually do those sessions myself and making sure that I fuel right, sleep right, do absolutely everything in my power to give myself the best opportunity to achieve those goals, then there's no point complaining about it, right? Like, and it's a hard truth sometimes for people, but it is your life that you need to take control of, because realistically, no one else is going to help you unless you make that first choice. And it is fucking hard. It's confronting. Like, if I said this to your face and were pointing at you 1 meter away, it'd be a very confronting thing. And that's what a lot of people just need to repeat to themselves, though, because yeah, and it might need to be heard 100, 200, 500 times before that actually sits in them and they realize that, fuck,
Yeah.
I need to make the changes myself before they can actually do that.
Yeah, something that I used to say to myself quite frequently when I would be in that, I suppose, victim mentality, victim mindset when I was on my weight loss journey was like, I started by, well, my training plan's not working. Maybe my body's just different because I'm dieting and I'm not getting results. Maybe I'm supposed to be at this weight. Until I got to a point where it was sort of like I flicked a switch in my mind and just like repeatedly said to myself, no one's coming to do it for you. So you can keep making the excuses, you can keep skipping the workouts, you can keep, adding a few extra treats in here and there, but no one else is coming to do it for you. They're not coming to lose the weight for you. They're not coming to get the promotion for you. And that sort of flicked a switch in my mind. But in everything that you were saying, it also, what I notice about myself now, and I'm curious to see if you're the same, when you meet people in that victim mindset, it can be really draining to be around that when you're someone who's done the work to move away from that. How do you find, what does it do to your energy when you're spending time around them? Because I know for myself, like, my battery goes flat so quickly when I'm around people like that. Is that the same for you? You have a bit more patience than me with some people as well.
That depends. If I'm getting paid to do it, my patience is probably a lot higher.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If it's people that I generally don't need to spend time around, I'll probably just remove myself from being around that kind of thing, because I treat my time and my energy as the number one priority these days. And like, and that can be a super selfish thing to say, but I think that's the truth, and that's the way that it should be for almost everyone. And then obviously, like, I've definitely noticed the last probably 12 months, my mindset shift from being a little bit more selfish to a little bit more serving in terms of who I actually want to work with. And the people that I do have empathy for and do want to help, I've actually noticed myself expending more energy trying to do that for them than what I have in the past. And I think that's only because I do prioritize myself so much that I am full of energy the majority of the time and have this spare energy to kind of help others. But I'll tell you what, if you're on a journey and you are working really hard on yourself at the time and you're around other people who are victimizing themselves and are draining, you're going to burn out so quickly. Like, it's just not a really self-sustainable kind of practice there. And that's where you got to prioritize a few different things, because as much as you might want to help them, sometimes you got to prioritize yourself to be able to get things done so that you can, take 4 months to work on yourself and then you can go back and help them if you want to.
Yeah. How do you find now, so we've talked, I suppose, about how anyone can have a high performance mindset, or anyone can cultivate that for themselves by coming back to the present moment, creating a vision for themselves. I suppose taking or holding yourself accountable, calling yourself out on things. How important have you found, I suppose you're a perfect example of moving from one state to another. How important are the people around you for maintaining that mindset?
Yeah, massive. Like, anyone that I spend time with now is on the exact same trajectory as I am. They want the best for themselves. They are willing to work for themselves to create the best versions of themselves. And because of that, this environment, and I was with, a really good group of mates yesterday, and we had a beautiful surprise lunch for Zara, who's just an incredible human, and everyone there is working towards something and on themselves. And like, so many things are happening positive for all of us, that all of us are trying to lift each other up and to build and to grow. And that environment is something that I just haven't experienced at that intensity, I suppose, before. And it's fucking amazing, G. Like, when everyone is on this path and empowering themselves, there doesn't seem to be a limit. There doesn't seem to be a ceiling, and that gives you energy. Like, I want to go and hang out with these, and I love my time, and you know how much I love my own time, and
Yep.
I am definitely an introvert who's learned to be extroverted, but I want to go spend time with these people because I get so much more energy out of them as well, because I'm on the same journey. And that is so important. And I just think back to, we all have the people that we know, whether it's back home or the people that you're around with at certain times of your life, that are the exact opposite to that. And as much as you love those people, sometimes when you find people who are on that same energy giving, empowering journey, it's just next level. Like, it's unbelievable.
You said earlier in the episode that you're, and I might get this wrong, but fitter, stronger, faster than you feel that you may have ever been.
Mm-hmm.
How, or do you think there's a link between that and the people that you're surrounding yourself with at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually talking to a friend this morning about this. Like, we've both been in Goldie for 3 months. So I think the social circle that you're around has a huge influence, as well as if you do a word association with Gold Coast, you think probably exercise, tan, fit. Like, those kind of 3 things are there, right?
Yeah.
And even I notice, and I've never really been completely out of shape. I've definitely come back from Europe a couple of times where I've not been as fit as possible, and I did this time into Goldie. And I just remember thinking the first time I went down and I did a walk along Burley Hill, and everyone was super fit and tan. Even I was just like, I want to make sure that I'm the healthiest versions of myself at all times while I'm here. And you can say that's pretentious and that's what Gold Coast like. It's all fake, but I truly believe that so many people here are just trying to be the healthiest and best versions of themselves, and we all gravitate to one another. That's why group fitness and that kind of thing is just taking off here, because everyone wants to be that kind of version of themselves, and it molds you a certain way. Like, sun's out, you want to be outside, you want to be giving back, you want to be helping others, you want to be serving, like all these amazing different things. if the sun wasn't out and we were in a place that didn't value exercise and valued more like Friday and Saturday nights at the pub, completely different, right?
Yep.
Yeah. This is my sales pitch to you here, Gina.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine what being in that second type of environment would be like. Um, that's really cool.
Mm.
I think it's one of those things as well. The times that I visit, and I have been up a couple of times, and the most recent time stayed with one of our mutual friends up there, and it was, first thing in the morning, 5 o'clock, we're up going to the gym, then for a walk after that, the sun's out, everyone's out doing something. There's so many different things. There was like a puppy yoga that we walked past and everything. But I think that that's really hard and something that people probably do need to give themselves some grace with as well, is like your current environment plays such a huge role. Like I know for myself, there's times where I wake up. This morning was a perfect example, where I woke up and I've had a tough couple of days, and so motivating myself to get up and go to the gym this morning, I was like, how great would it be like if I could just call up someone who I know would definitely be there, and we'll go together and we'll go get a coffee after it. And whilst I have some people in my life, there was no one that I was like, that person, I'm going to call them right now and we're going to go do this. So I think that that's something that some people, we're always one choice away from a different lifestyle. But if you're in an environment that doesn't support that, it can be incredibly challenging. It's not the reason that you shouldn't be able to cultivate that mindset for yourself, but it can be a big barrier that you have to put a lot more conscious thought and attention into. And you definitely would know that from all your years here too.
Exactly right. And it is funny, like, and hopefully, you find someone who will go to the gym with you.
No.
But it is like, I don't know. I spent 32 years, like I was obviously born in Perth, and the weather played a huge thing there, and exercise was a huge part, and it still was in Ballarat, absolutely, but never to the extent that I thought it would be here. And as soon as you're in that environment, it does just make prioritizing yourself just so much easier. Like, it's just something about, sunshine and people who just want the best for themselves. It just radiates, and I don't know, it catches you up. Like, it's cool. It's very, and there's 100%. There's places in Gold Coast where it's not like that. It's still party central and whatnot. However, I think when you're 18 to 40, 50 odd, it's pretty cool to find a little social circle that supports and uplifts you.
With the people that you work with, particularly the younger people that you work with, how do you go in, or do you work with them on like the importance of their habits, and how, because it sounds like as well from everything that was spoken about so far, a lot of the high performance mindset is, like we said, no one's coming to do it for you. And so your habits, or the quality of your habits, will determine the quality of your current reality as well. But how do you, is it something where someone has to realize the importance of that for themselves, or is that something you can definitely see a lot of success with when coaching people and reinforcing the importance of that? And that's probably a very long, convoluted question, but I believe it definitely comes down to the quality of your habits. But how do you teach someone
that? So the beautiful thing about the app that you're on as well is that it has a place for habit coaching. So anyone I generally work with, especially from a nutrition point of view, who want to clean up their health choices in terms of what they're putting into their body and how they're feeling and how they're potentially looking as well. There's ways that we can instill little simple daily habits into everyone's lifestyle. But I think the easiest thing to do is to have conversations like this. And this is why I love doing the one-on-one sessions with all my clients, because I think you can storytell. And as soon as you storytell and use past experiences and your lived experiences to help shape someone else's mindset, I think that's so much more powerful than being like, you must set your alarm, you must make your bed, you must make sure your meal prep on Sunday. Like, yes, those things are important to do, but I think being able to have a conversation and to bounce those kind of things off each other and why they could be important, how they've helped you, and sharing those kind of stories, I think that's the most powerful way of building those healthy habits. And then again, like anything, it just takes time. Like anything just takes such a long time to be able to change and modify lifestyle habits. And that's where we probably look into that high performance lifestyle and why athletes are so, we see these athletes on this next level, this next pedestal. And the only thing that separates athletes and Gen Pop is, I think, delayed gratification. So being able to stack all those habits for years and years and years in the hope to achieve something. So you think of the Olympics, some athletes work their entire life for 10 seconds in the Olympics. Like, blows your mind, right? And then you work with some people who they might come to you and say they want to lose 5 kilos in 3 months, and them not dropping a certain amount of weight in the first month is like, nah, all right, I'm done. That's it. I'm quitting. And so, like, I think the only difference from that absolutely zero high performance mindset to what the elite high performers are actually doing is that ability to look long term and just sit in the present and just be patient, because it does take so much time.
Yeah. I think from what you're saying as well, something that's really empowering about it. So someone who has at the moment zero high performance mindset, the way that they can build that, I think oftentimes we overcomplicate this stuff. And the way that they can build that is by simply just showing up as the person that they want to be. I think the things that we've talked about are so important when it's creating a vision for yourself, being in the present moment, the ability to practice gratitude, being really considerate with who you spend your time and energy on and who you allow in your inner circle. But at the end of the day, that's all really great. But unless you can just start showing up as that person, you're never going to achieve those things. And I think that's a really, for some people can be really scary, but for a lot of people it's really empowering. It's like the thing that separates, you know, me and that really awesome high performer that I absolutely adore is they're showing up as that person they want to be all day, every day. So I think that that's a really, hopefully, empowering thing. I know when I think about that for myself, it definitely is. I mean, when I think about high performers that I adore, there's a few, like I'm never...
Keep showing up.
They keep showing up, but like I'm not going to be the same as them. I'm perfect example of something we talked about the other weekend. The female boxing fight on the same day as, or and the same fight card as Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. A female fight, I was like, oh my gosh, look at these athletes. And I messaged you after it. And we shared a similar thought around one of them, around how incredible she was. I'm not going to go at this stage, never, but I'm not going to go put myself in a boxing ring and get beaten up by someone at the moment. But I can still adopt the same mindset as her, the same approach to life as her. And so then in reality, the only thing that's separating us is our vehicle that we use. So I think that that is a really empowering piece for a lot of people, particularly people who maybe are not in the right circles at the moment or don't have those great habits at the moment, but they want to work on it. Show up as that person, and soon enough you'll become that person. So talk me through then, because this is something that just absolutely fascinates me. Talk me through so you've built the habits now, you're training every day, pretty much every day?
Yeah, I'm in deload at the moment for next week, but yeah, I would normally, if I wasn't peaking for any particular races, I'm training and doing everything every day.
Yeah. How does that, when you're in your, I suppose, off season, how does that delayed gratification play out then when it's like your season's not for however long? I feel like when I look from an outside perspective, when someone's in season, that delayed gratification is like you can see yourself, like you've got your races leading towards what you want. How do you go with that in an off season as well?
I think it comes down to, again, that vision of who you want to be. Like, if I envision myself in 12 months' time running a world record 100 meters, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know, and if I'm going to 12 months from now in 2025 on this date, I'm going to be attempting it. Being able to draw yourself back into the present each day until then, I think super important, because you know that deep down, if I tick this box and I do everything I need to on this box today, in 365 days, me achieving that task, and it's not all result driven, but me achieving it is still going to be, that's there. That long term goal is still there. I need to be able to do all this. And it's so important. Yes, you need to enjoy the process. The process sometimes sucks so much. Like, there are absolutely days where you wake up and you're like, no, I can't be bothered today. But I also have a strong enough vision of where I want to be that I still know that I need to tick today off, pennies in the bank, get things done, so that in 12 months' time I can still do that. And that's where we can derail ourselves as well. If we have that's why injuries are such a critical thing in athletes' life, especially, or anyone's life when they're pursuing something. If they have 4 weeks where they might have this little injury, it can absolutely derail everything, because you lose track of, I can't tick this off, so therefore what's the point? But as long as you're still doing everything that you possibly can towards those goals, it's important. And that's why, some people take years and years to run a marathon, right? And there's going to be days where it's going to be raining outside. You might not want to go for a run, but you still know that session in that moment is still going to work towards that one vision of you crossing that finish line 42.2 kilometers later. Like, you just got to bring yourself back to that end result so much to make sure that you're doing everything possible in the lead up.
Yeah, so many things came into my mind then. I think the journey part's really interesting, because and I'm sure this is something that you're also very aware of with the people that you are coaching as well, but it's that person that you become when you're pursuing whatever those goals are, whatever that life pursuit is for you. It's the person that you become during that process that defines who we're going to be in this life. And I think, I can't remember what podcast it was off, but there was a question posed of, like, if you think about a kid, if you had a kid and you wanted them to grow to be really resilient and to be super independent and to go after what they want, would you give them everything really easy? And that sort of got me thinking a lot as well. Like, it's the days that it's not easy. It's the days where you're really struggling, when you show up for yourself in whatever that looks like, whether that's work, life, sport, with your friends, whatever it is. It's the person you become when you keep showing up, or the person that you become when you stop showing up as well. And I think that that's really fascinating, because, like, I even think today for myself at the gym, when I woke up this morning, like I said, I would have really loved to be like, yeah, this person's coming to the gym with me, we're going. Instead, didn't have that, went anyway. But as you know, I'm experiencing some stuff now with my hip that we're trying to work through. Been seeing a few different specialists, and at the moment, in that, I went through a process over the past couple of weeks of really, there wasn't a lot that I could do in the way that I really love to train that didn't annoy it or hurt it. And I got into the place of, like, well, what's the point? Like, what's the point if it's going to hurt it, and I'm so sick of this and I just want this to be over. But then this morning, something flicked as well in my mind, where it was like, okay, well, there's things you can do, and you can go show up for yourself. And I think that that's probably something that's very relatable to a lot of people, is like, you have something or a challenge in your life or something in front of you that, you know, when you overcome that thing, you're going to be so much better off. You're going to be so much more resilient as a person, and you're going to build your character so much. But when you're on this side of the challenge, we find excuses of why we should continue down this negativity spiral, and why it's not worth it, and why oh, well, if I skip today and I skip tomorrow, like maybe if I just skip this week, it'll be fine. And then it turns into, well, I've just skipped this month, or I'll just wait until I get results back because there's a challenge in front of me and it's really hard to navigate. That's something that I think it comes into that delayed gratification that you're talking about. It comes into just showing up as the person that you want to be. But it really highlighted in my mind this morning how important it was to have a really clear picture of who am I trying to become? What does the best version of myself look like? Because I know that I'm only trying to become the best version of myself. I'm not trying to be, and this is something that I think I've really focused on this year. I'm not trying to be better than anyone else. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself, which I think sort of then puts you in a lane of your own. How do you start to create that vision of who you want to become and what you want in your life? Because it's so important to have that vision of what the best version of yourself looks like. But for a lot of people, and myself included a few years ago, where do you start with that?
We've had this conversation
Yes.
in terms of where, I think you just got to strip things back and I'm not going to say happiness. You can't pursue happiness. You can't always want to be happy because I don't think that's possible. I think you need to sit in a range of different emotions throughout your life, and happiness is just one of those things that you can work towards. But I think if you literally close your eyes and you envision everything that you ever wanted, if you could have it tomorrow, like what would it look like? And I don't think I've asked that question to a few people, and I personally don't think they've ever said what this is right now. Even myself, I 100% I love this lifestyle and what I've created, what I'm doing right now. But I still, when I close my eyes, I can still envision something else as well. So, and me being able to sit with that is, I know that this is the right path at the moment to achieve those kind of things. And to be able to have that time and that space, that mindset where it's either prompted from someone else or it's something that you're thinking about yourself, is what you're doing right now going to get you to where you want to be? And if you say no, or if you think like, I want to be living in, say, Fiji in this absolute villa, I'm currently not enjoying what I'm doing, where I'm living. I'm not saving any money. I'm not pursuing any different education, anything that's going to actually get me to that place. That's where I say, okay, you need to realign what you're doing, because your lane is wanting to go somewhere. This is where you currently are. You want to go somewhere else. You need to change, and you need to put yourself on that right path. But until you give yourself the time and the space to be able to create those kind of visions, it's so hard. And not everyone does it, and not everyone honestly wants to do it either, I think, which is absolutely fine. Like, I know some people who are just super content in what they're doing with their lifestyle. They have big plans, but they are content and they're not willing to change those kind of things, which is absolutely fine. There's no pressure in that. But if you do envision yourself somewhere else, I think that's where you need to make that little adjustment. You need to change those lanes, and you need to pursue that, not relentlessly from the start. You need to make sure that you're doing the right things to get you to where you want to be.
There's a quote that comes to my mind, which is one of my favorite quotes at the moment. And I don't even know who it's by. I saw it on a TikTok. But it's, what you're not changing, you're choosing. And I think that's really powerful. I think that for myself at the moment, it's no secret, I don't want to stay in Victoria much longer. But I'm trying to put things in place now to make that something that I can actually work towards. But there's days where it's like, what you're not changing, you're choosing. I'm choosing this because I could do something about it, but I'm not doing something about it, which I find really interesting. And there's some parts of my life where I'm not changing things and I'm choosing it, and I love that. There was something that you also said around pursuing happiness and how challenging that is, because happiness is fleeting. And it's an emotional response to something, but it's a fleeting emotional response to something. And something I think can be really challenging in when you're trying to pursue your goals is the understanding or reminding yourself that bad days are also part of a good life. And I think that that's when we have a bad day, when you go through something, being able to have that, I suppose, bird's eye view, that step back and the perspective of like, this is all part of a really good life. It just sucks at the moment, is something that can often, I suppose, derail a lot of people. Does that show up for you ever? Like when you're in the midst of challenge?
Absolutely.
But,
The other day I was having an interesting day, I'll say that. And I found myself acknowledging the moment that I was in and acknowledging the fact that I was not happy at all in that particular moment. And I was super negative. I was like, this fucking sucks. What the fuck am I doing? Like, how have I put myself into this situation? And I actually, because I acknowledged it, I went from being incredibly angry and built up and like frustrated to eventually smiling and just laughing, because I took this reframe of my mindset, and it was like I was standing above myself in that current moment, being like, I have acknowledged this and I am so grateful to be in this moment, but being so reflective that I know this will not last forever, and that soon I will be doing something else that will give me joy and to give me that happiness. And it's a first time in my life that I think I've ever gone and being able to take a step. It was like an out of body experience, G. Like it was wild, right? Like, and I reframed my incredible negative self to this incredibly positive, being like, I appreciate this moment so much because I know that something better is on the horizon. And it changed my entire day after that. It was just, and I'm pretty sure I talked to you about this.
I'm so curious. I'm wondering, I'm going through my mind of like, what have we spoken about recently? Do I know about this thing?
Yeah, maybe not the particular moment, but we'll share that on a later episode. But yeah, it was just this amazing thing where like, yeah, it's okay to be super unhappy at times, and you need to be able to acknowledge those. And when you can take that step out, that's that empowering step to think, I will be in a better space soon. And knowing that and trusting the universe and the force around you is just like, it's massive. It's so massive.
It's so funny. My mind just went to a conversation with your mum the other weekend where we were talking about trusting the universe. So it sounds like then anyone can cultivate a high performance mindset. They just need to start with a vision for themselves, being present, like practicing gratitude for what they have and showing up.
Yeah. Maybe that's all we need. The dot points on our high performance mindset curriculum that we're doing. That's all you need, right? Done. We solved it. There you go.
I think it's one of those things, right? Similar with your, different training plans and people who come to you wanting to lose weight or to build muscle or whatever. The more you get into it, the more intricacies and the more complexity there is. But at a base level, it's really simple. We just
like anything, there is a foundation, and when you can strip things back to a couple of stumps in the ground that are creating and solidifying that foundation, I think that's where you can always refer back to and always go and build upon. Because it's so easy to overcomplicate everything. There's so much education out there. Like and it's so funny, I've really tried to focus on stripping back how complex I'm trying to communicate and like demonstrate my understanding, where I think sometimes it's just so much easier to strip things back and just go, this is what it is, just go and do it. Like, and that's super blunt, and sometimes that's horrible, just having things told to you like that. But I think at the end of the day, like the more that we can just do that, like if you just do this, you will achieve this, nothing else. Boom, just go and do it.
Yeah.
If you can promise me you'll do it, you'll achieve that.
Yeah.
Simple. And when we can strip those things back, I think it just makes trying to make changes or alter who we are and pursue that kind of high performance mindset, whatever it may be, a little bit easier.
would that be, I think you may have answered my last question, but you may not have. Is that your biggest tip for anyone who's struggling with their mindset and looks at these high performers and thinks that's really cool? Maybe they're just built differently than I am. For anyone wanting to cultivate a high performance mindset or just begin to start to improve their mindset, is that your biggest tip, or what is your biggest tip for them?
Yeah, I think like again, we're probably circling around a little bit, but just starting, just showing up,
Yeah.
that's just do that and you're on your way.
Mm.
You've got to acknowledge that yourself and that you want to be on a different path already. But if you just show up, you go pennies in the bank, you will eventually get to where you want to be.
I love
And the
it.
beauty of it is, yes, there's people there to help you, hopefully guide you in certain ways in certain areas of that pursuit. But at the end of the day, just show up in to be that person that you envision. You'll be absolutely fine.
I love that. I think that's a really great place to end this.
I agree. So nice chatting, G.
Loved it.
Mm. Until next time, hey?
Yes. Until
Yeah.
after your first race of the season and my last work trip of the season.
Yes,
Good luck.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much. You have a great time. And yeah, we'll try to get on a special guest on our next episode as well, I think, who embodies some of the things that we've been talking about in the last couple of episodes.
I'm so excited to talk to that person.
Yeah, same. So much.
Awesome.
All right, G. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.